that's probably, this big fat part right here is real similar to what we have here. And that's how it has developed. Don't worry about making a mess. The floor is designed for it. We can clean it up tomorrow. So I've got quite a bit of roots there. I really do have enough room where we wouldn't have to prune it a lot, but I am going to prune just a little bit so they branch out. They always say you shouldn't put it right in the middle of your pot. So I'm looking at this tree and this branch a little longer than this branch, so I'm going to put it off to this side, and it should that way kind of grow over that way.
Is the reason for aesthetic purposes?
Right. I mean, that's supposedly the rule, right? But, you know, I'm not a big fan of rules. If you've got a tree and you like it, ideally you'd have alternating branches, but if they aren't there, you know, it's real hard to get them there. So
Martha Stewart knows how to do it. Yeah, well, she doesn't want to help.
there are some ways with grafting and that kind of work. So you take your chopstick and kind of work the soil in around the roots and then water it really well. And I'll have a pan out here, which I realized I didn't get ready, but there's our little bonsai. Now the other thing you could do is these are very pliable. You know, they're going to move. So we could wire the trunk and give it some bends and curves. I think with them this small that you've got good branches that it's going to be better as a little upright tree than it will bent over. So what I would do with this, you know, we didn't completely take all the roots off, we didn't take all the leaves off, so it should recover quite quickly. You know, this time of year as it gets warmer, it's time to do it. They should be just fine. Just put them in the window and care for them. Note of the color of the soil is real light, and when you water it, it's darker. So to me, that's the best way to judge if it needs water. So when this top of this soil is light again, is when you should water it. And I would put it in the sink and just drench it. It's going to run out the bottom so you know that it's good and wet again, and then wait for it to dry out.
How often do you do that? Would you say you're going to be doing that?
You know, I walk through here and some of them dry out every day, some of them, you know, once a week. So it depends on how long it's been in the pot, how root bound it is, you know, what the day is like. Really, you can't say anything, you know, once a week. It's just not going to do it. Any questions?
What kind of tree is that to start
This
with?
is a narrow-leaf ficus. All of these are the same variety. Ficus is a good, easy one to start with. The narrow-leaf is pretty much only you see it in the bonsai world. You don't see them grown as house plants or as yard plants in Florida, but it's a great tree for bonsai because the leaves are smaller, you know, and they get a nice trunk.
How often do you trim it, Kurt, or just whenever?
As it starts to lose its shape, you know, like this one, these guys don't grow that fast, so you might only prune it 3 or 4 times a year. But you can see on this one the kind of yellowish, different color green leaves here. This is the new growth. So it's really started to grow. And it's going to get pruned probably a lot like this one before too long. And I don't do that very often, but if you were just going to maintain it, I would cut all the new growth off. You know, because it's just going to get longer. This is just going to keep growing. So you just keep, almost like a haircut. This one's got the shape, so I'm not trying to develop branches or anything, so I'm just trying to maintain it through pruning. you know, where this one needs to be, you need to pick some branches. Anything that's growing straight up gets cut out. See how that branch then looks real nice, and you would keep pruning it back. And I've been doing it so long, it doesn't take me long to decide.
You got the wasabi. Go get something to drink. It's those little peas.
And the, you know, the basic shape is there. You wouldn't want it, you know, it was out quite a ways. It's way too big. So this needs some wire. A couple of them. I don't know if I need that branch.
Do you train them a lot of times before you put them in the transfer to a different pot?
Well, this one's been pruned a couple times, so you could put it in a pot now. Depending on what you want to do with it, where you want to go. And I can feel that there's huge roots in here. You can't see them, but right here, I could feel it pushing against the pot. So it really needs to be root pruned and cleaned out, because they get bigger roots than you have trunks sometimes. Almost all of them. Let me grab one more.
Smile, students.
This is called a Fukian tea. But you can see all the new growth. So again, just the pruning of it. These guys grow a lot, but they're very easy to see where you want to prune them.
How old would that one be right there?
I would guess that this is like 10 to 15 years old. This is imported from China, and they grow them in fields over there. And it's the same principle. If you look really close, there's some big scars. You know, it was probably 5 or 6 feet tall, and then it cut back, and then you develop the branches. So almost every tree in there you're going to find where they took something larger. And there's a big cut right here. So it was probably grown straight up. You know, they cut it off, planted it, they grew some more, cut it off, and kept doing that over a number of years. And
So when you say that's from China, Kurt, does it come with that shape? Do they train it before they ship it, or you buy it kind of with this character on it?
right, I mean the trunk was here, and some of the branches were here. I've got wire on this, and I've allowed this to grow longer, both this one and this one. I'm trying to get it so it comes a little bit more out like that. But the basic shape and a lot of the branches are there when I get them. I couldn't grow this trunk in the greenhouse in 20 years here.
Why not?
It just, the season is so short, you know, it's like growing it in Florida. It would grow so much better than up here.
In China, the season's on the sea.
They have warm areas
Warmer
just like
weather
we
in
do.
different areas.
Okay.
'Cause this is tropical. It definitely would not grow
Okay.
outdoors. It's not winter
All
friendly
right.
at all.
I got you.
But do you see where I pruned it? You could see where the new growth was. It had lost its shape. So I just brought it back to its shape. And with our little ones, you're going to want to let them grow some and pick the shape and let it go. But then it can't get too big for the little pot it's in, so you have to keep it pruned to the size of the pot it's in. Good? You ready to go?
Yeah. That little one that you just pruned, the one that severely pruned? No, the one that's, the old one, you're right. Don't they call those witches' brooms the way all the little...
Yeah, weren't you along and we went Jack took us through these in the gardens. Jack,
A witch's broom is if I believe it's where you get
sport.
something it's some kind of growth that's unusual to the plant, and they
I think that's where it comes from, you keep trimming the
Keep
ends
trimming
off and
it?
it makes,
No.
it keeps making,
No.
it isn't?
Where's
Which is like a deformity.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's, a lot of the
It's a
sports and some of
deformity.
the plants
I
you
keep
buy.
thinking you were there when we had that guy that did that as a living.
Mhm.
He'd shoot him down with shotguns out west.
To get them out of the
Yeah,
trees.
to get, because up so high. It's a disease or fungus or something or an abnormality that
A lot of our
changes the
dwarf
genes.
varieties are
Yeah,
come out of that.
yeah.
This, they would call it the thing you want with a branch is what they call, what's the word I want? You know, where it gets fatter the closer you get. So they start out with small branches and it keeps getting wider the closer you get. Word escapes me.
That'll come.
Yeah.
It needs trimming down.
Any other questions? Are we ready to do it?
Yeah.
So I have trees over here, and some of them are better than others, so look around at them. Try to get some that have the branches down lower. Pots and leaves there. There's a bunch of scissors and wire
Did you ever bonsai before?
Yeah, we did when Debbie did.
and I'll come around and help you.
Daddy, oh, you want to go to your 2A meeting?
All of them.
Well,
I just like that size. There's some small ones.
In Lake's garden.
Oh,
that's the other one.
Oh.
Same day.
I'm going to go through your greenhouse.
Should have done it with this one.
I know. This is Kurt's greenhouse at the flower market with all his bonsai.